Hey, Ty Brady here with Brady Insurance Marketing in the Ty Brady Way, one of the nation's largest field marketing organizations that helps independent agents achieve a 6- and 7-figure income with the systems and strategies that I'm going to talk about with you today.
Welcome to the show. Today I have John Salimbene, and you know what? This is actually a do-over, huh? We tried doing it last time. We had some technical difficulties on uploading it. But anyway, John, so you and I have known each other for how long? And, go from there.
Gosh, it's been a good 12 years, going on 13,
Wow.
since we met at Kirk White's meeting, and with his people from Stephen Matthews out west, or out east, I'm sorry, in Pennsylvania. And gosh, these guys were talking Medicare, and I had never seen you before. You were standing over in the corner of the room, and you were correcting them. And I was like, oh my gosh, these guys don't know what they're doing or saying. And so it was pretty cool. So after the meeting, I went up to you, introduced myself, and I said, hey, I want to be able to sell MedAdvantage products that you're talking about. I knew nothing about Medicare. I was just doing health insurance, and they didn't offer MedAdvantage, just supplements. And I said, I've been interested in what you're doing. He says, hey, come meet, you said come meet me at Kellogg. I did, and rest is history.
Well, so we met about 12 years ago, but you had quite the history and background. And I know we talked a little bit about this briefly, but, how did you get into selling health insurance? Obviously, you're in Medicare now and selling under 65 health insurance products and growing an agency, but what were the stepping stones that got to where you're at today?
Well, I mean, I start after my mission. I always wanted to be self-employed. I had long cutting jobs and that stuff. I enjoyed the freedom. I worked at Grand Central here in Utah, which is no longer existing, and kind of like your in between your Kmart and your JCPenney. And it was a great store, but man, I hated the thumb over me. And so after I got off my mission, I decided to be a professional photographer. And I took a course called New York Institute of Photography, and I never did the course or sent them in. I went and constantly was buying books at bookstores, and I was self-taught.
Wow.
And I started the first year. I think I opened up, the worst time of the year was the fall. So I hadn't got that. So I had to get business coming in. And I put that's back when you had, from whatever job you have, let's say if they had a McDonald's or whatever they did. And it looked so cool. And I did pictures of them. And I only had one person out of about 30 or 40 that bought, all the other ones bought, and this one person didn't. They got their free 11 by 14 portrait that I promised them just for bringing it in. And so that was my start. And I think my first year I did maybe $10,000, if that. And so the following year I did 20 something, and I just kept, perfecting myself. I kept going, and that's what I did. I went to seminar. It got to the point that I knew a lot of the things these guys were teaching, but they said, always come back because there's going to be something that you missed the previous time or something new that will change your business. And every time I went, I did that. And pets were the most lucrative for me. And, I learned that from a professional. White background photography. I used blinds back then that I was taught from one guy, and even invested in this course. Oh, gosh, I got my money back on that course on 2 sessions doing glamorous boudoir photography, but they were in good taste, and did very, very well. And But after 13 years, I got burned out, and I sold it to the guy who I just saw here in June back in New York, and we had dinner, and I sold the business to him, and he's still doing it after like 26 years.
That's amazing.
But I was done in 13. I just couldn't. I had to be creative at all times, and it was hard to keep that up. And I wasn't going to be the Sears guy, and just to rush them through, take a picture, and leave. So I just got burned out with that. So,
but self-taught from the self-taught,
yeah.
Just kind of,
But
hey, here's
the
what
key here is always learning from the professional, like you or from Kellogg, being on the meetings and stuff like that, because you're always going to catch something that will, sharpen your quiver and or your arrow, and so important. And then 2 years later, I started a company called Laser Genesis, remanufactured toner cartridges. It was just starting out, and that one, I made a lot of money, but there was a lot of overhead. About 50-60% was overhead. And so, but I made a darn good income. We were doing about $500,000. I did $200,000 in my second year, and I'd only been in business for a year and a half. So it took off very quickly, and I did very well. After 10 years, my wife wanted to move to Utah and back, and I grew up here in my high school years. And I said, okay, let's do it. If I can sell the business. I didn't think I would be able to, but lo and behold, I sold it to my salesman. We found a financial backer, and here. The money I had only lasted me about 2 years, and because I was paying off two mortgages and the rent here, and it just, emptied my pockets, and I didn't know what to do. And finally, some guy out of the blue sends me an email and says, hey, would you be interested in selling health insurance, which it really wasn't. It was more of an indemnity plan. So I ended up in Salt Lake for that, and I thought, they were whining and dining me, and I thought this was going to be great. I can make this happen. Well, it wasn't as easy as I thought it would be. But after 5 months, I found out it wasn't true insurance. It wasn't like your Select Health or Humana. And fortunately, a guy called me up and talk about fate. I was coming home. Dan calls me up.
But you decided to quit, right? You decided to quit. So you were done.
I was done.
Quit. Okay.
Yep. And I come home. He calls me up on the phone and says, hey, I see what you're doing. Can you, he wasn't like saying, why would you work for them? Or it was nothing negative. He just said, how much you making? And I says, well, I'm making this per application on average. And he said, how would you like to make 3 to 4 times that per policy? And I said, love that. And these would be with like Humana and Select. I never heard of them because all I knew of this one, and the prices were a little bit better. But I found out it wasn't true insurance. So I joined up with Dan, and during that duration, I quit probably a half dozen times because I started bringing people on because they were losing insurance because of the home debacle. And so when the housing industry crashed, these people came to me for insurance. And then within a month or two, they were losing their jobs. And now they couldn't pay their insurance. They canceled it. And here I'm stuck, with the candy in the bag, and I've got to pay it all back.
Wow.
So I just kept, like I said before, I was like a hamster in a wheel, and I just kept working because I had to pay off this debt and try to make money on the side to support myself. And I couldn't even do that. I mean, for 5 or 6 years, we were on Medicaid. We were on, our church was paying for our rent, food stamps. And I hate that. I hate that with a passion. And I was on that one other time in between businesses back in New York, trying to figure out what I can do. And I don't know, it was just horrible. And we were just about on the street. I remember one time that by the time the first counselor called me up and said, "Hey, I heard we're going to make a payment for you." And I said, "Well, there's 3 payments." And he's like, "What?" I says, "Yeah, I've been waiting for you guys to call me to pay this. So here you are calling me, but there's 3 months behind." Yeah. How do you feel when you got to
Oh,
beg for the payment, or you're going to be on the street, you know?
that's some dark times, John boy, I'm sure.
Oh my
Dark,
gosh.
dark,
Couldn't have
dark.
been
And
worse.
I mean, I don't even know if there's words to describe it emotionally. I mean, physically, just the sheer disgust. Like, even asking for a handout is hard for me. I can't imagine not just a handout. You're saying, hey, I'm 3 months. I'm going to be on the street with your family, and you're trying to make things work. You're doing your very best you
Yeah.
can.
And
Oh,
thank goodness he went to the bishop, and the bishop said, yeah, go ahead. And, it saved us. And they still paid for a long time. And then finally, when we had to move, I was at that point, had enough business coming in. I was doing, business with Kellogg, and I got off of it. One day I just called DMS and I said, "We're done. We're off this stuff. I don't need it." Now on paper, you could show off our write-offs. We could still qualify. I don't want
yeah,
that stuff.
yeah.
If I can afford paying for my food and my rent and my, utilities, so be it. That's what I'm going to do. Even though we might still be struggling, I couldn't wait to get off it, and I was off of it. And then every month my income increased. And as you know, with health insurance and Medicare, it's residual income. So
Mm-hmm.
whatever you make this year, you're going to make it again next year, plus whatever you sell next year.
Yeah.
And that's the beauty of insurance, health insurance and Medicare. I love it. Love it for that reason.
You go from 2 successful businesses to a
Mm-hmm.
very dark place in your life
Yep.
to trying to figure out what you're going to do to pay your bills. You find insurance, you jump from different platforms of insurance, kind of like I did. And
Mm-hmm.
now you're making money, you get into a house. So where do you see yourself taking this in the next, 5, 10 years?
Well, it just keep doing what I'm doing. It's got to the point now with close to 800 clients
Uh-huh.
that I get referrals almost every day. And honestly, I didn't get one today so far, but almost every day I do. And it'll be range from 1 to 3 a day.
Mm-hmm.
And it's, so I keep growing. So I unfortunately, well, I don't know if it's unfortunate. I'm never a goal setter, because if I want something, I just work harder to get there.
Amen,
And
brother.
for some reason, goals have never worked for me. I just not a goal setter. I just say, okay, this is what I want. Now, this is what it's going to take to get there or to get this item. And, and can you do this business? For some people, especially you're a great example. You just put the pedal to the metal and you made it happen practically overnight. For me on Medicare, I took my sweet time. Now, granted, 3/4 of my business is health insurance, but I like the Medicare. I wish I could do solely Medicare. If I had done that first and worked it hard like you did, I probably would have pushed health insurance aside and said, I don't need it. But I was already doing health insurance, 3 years before I met you,
Uh-huh.
and I had all these clients to service, and continue to go over time. So now the referrals are just keep going in. And so I just kept doing it. And if you do something long enough and you're persistent, something's going to happen. Mm-hmm. And a good friend of mine back in New York, one day we were talking, he's a financial planner, and he said, John, I was in the same boat you're in. It took me years. And eventually finding good people that would refer me, that I helped financially. And you just got to stick to it. And I promise you it will pay off. And it did. You know, I've yet to see this guy and be able to tell him that, you know what, you were so right. His name is Bentley, and he said, and I need to, so one day, hopefully I get to see him or call him and say, you were right, and I owe you dinner.
So
You know?
it is so true that it doesn't matter what it is, right? We talk a lot about insurance because, that's our background. But if you're an entrepreneur and you do any type of business, it can be construction, photography, selling cartridges like you did, or it could be a boutique, whatever it is, as long as you do it and you have passion behind it, you never work a day in your life. And that's what it's
Yeah.
about. You just got to find what you like to do. Now, I have a lot of people that make a lot of money selling annuities and big life cases. I do not like it. I got a lot
I
of
do
friends.
not either.
I got a lot of people that make a lot of money selling just under 65 health insurance. That's great. And you know what? If they're happy, I'm happy. I just want people to know that don't give up. Earlier
Yeah.
when we did this and didn't save. What was the story about what your buddy told you when you were driving? Is that the financial planner? What was that he told you that, was instrumental to you?
You mean
Remember
the one,
that?
the guy I just mentioned,
Yeah.
Bentley?
Well,
Yeah, well,
yeah.
Bentley, I
The
mean,
background on that. Yes.
I don't even know how we got on the phone. I think I saw he was coming out to Utah, and I said, hey, let's meet up. And but somehow it didn't work out. But we got talking on the phone. I says, hey, I'm doing insurance now, and we just talked about that, and I just told him I'm having a rough time. It was about the time that the housing debacle, and so he said, John, whatever you do, don't quit.
That's
Don't
that's what I
quit,
remember.
because I'm
Yes.
telling you, it's going to be worth it. And oh my gosh, the living I make, the money I make now, and now I have a secretary. She's here. It's my daughter. And it's, and the lifestyle we live now, we took off a month in June. I bought a motor home to travel the
Wow.
United
Yeah.
States,
Wow.
and just had a fantastic time. But it could have come all crashing down here. Back in 2020, I got COVID, ended up in the hospital for 10 days, but walked in there. They told my wife I wasn't going to make it.
Oh.
And they were going to try their best. If anything, I might be brain dead, if I came out of it. But because I was down to 35% oxygen. But I lived through it. Matter of fact, when I came to 3 days later, I was on the phone with my clients because it was open enrollment, and I was like, I got to get this done. And I was, tell them, hey, wait here a couple weeks and I'll get, taken care of. I'm doing better now and I'm doing fine. And while I was there, they found out that 3 of my stents were completely blocked, and we had to do an emergency open heart surgery. So I told him I got to get through open enrollment first. If I die, I die, but at least it's out of my hands at that point. But right now it's in my hands. I got to get this done. I can't let my clients down. So I got through open enrollment. We set the appointment on January 13th, had that. I tell you, I would go through 2 more open hearts before I'd want to get COVID again. That took everything out of me for 2 months.
But your family was still taken care of financially, and
yes,
I'm glad you made
money's
it.
still coming in.
Yeah, that's the power of residuals. Absolutely.
Yeah, that's what I loved about it, And then they told me while I was in there that, well, I knew this prior to even COVID, about a week before COVID. I was told they did a biopsy on my kidneys and found out they were going south on me. So we were in Hawaii, and they just happened to drop dead while I was there, and my legs bloated and my feet. And so I got back, and we had to do emergency dialysis, and then we did peritoneal dialysis, which I'm on now. I decided to go on vacation because I hadn't vacationed for 3 years because of COVID and everything else. And so I decided to take a month off and go see family and friends out east. And that's what we did. And I said, now I'm doing certifications. I told the kidney department that we're going to hold off until end of December when open enrollment's over with, and we'll look for a kidney then and
Wow.
get that first part of next week. So I got a little window there of 5 months, and before, as you know, we get open enrollment faced with again. So
John,
we'll get one.
what a remarkable story. Any other thoughts you'd like to leave with the listeners today, and we'll wrap this up?
No, just don't give up. I look at this. I love what I do, and you really got to love what you do. If you don't, then this business isn't for you. And I love helping people. I'm a people person, but I'm not a salesman, meaning, man, I got two brothers that could sell ice cream to an Eskimo, and I'm just not like that. I am a type of guy that says, if you can give me something that somebody needs, I can show it to them, give them 3 options and say, which do you feel is best for you?
Yes.
Then at that point, they got to have it. So they sell it to themselves and, okay, great. I'll sign you up. Even with supplementals or ancillaries, I tell them, okay, here's some things that you might need because of cancer, because of this or hospitalization. It's either pay me now or pay me later.
Yes.
So I was like, what do you feel is for you? And it's like, it's either yes or no. And I don't rebuttal it. Once in a blue moon, I will, but it usually ends up to be a no anyway. And I go, okay, great. This is for you, not for me. If you don't want it, it's no skin off my back. I don't say it that way, but I just tell them that, okay, if that's what you want to do, that's fine with me. It's my job to present it to you and
you
help
decide.
You out with it.
Yes.
If you don't, that's fine too. So I know other people have more success with it, but I think if you push people into it and into anything that you're selling, they're going to cancel it.
Persistency is not going to, exactly. You don't, but here's the thing. We don't need to. Everybody needs health insurance, number one. Number two is that people will spend their last dime to stay alive one more day. And it's solution-based selling. We give them a solution, let them choose.
I love that.
And I don't care what product. People are like, well, what do you think's best? I'm like, literally, it doesn't matter to me. If your doctor's in network, if you like the copay, you like the premium, then go for it. If you don't like it, we'll find something else. It doesn't matter to me. And it doesn't cost. Here's another misconception, that insurance agents cost money. That is a big misconception. We get paid. Yes, we do, but we get compensated by the carrier. And whether you buy online, over the phone, or through the mail. Exactly. Yes.
Yeah, in the beginning that, hey, just so you know, there's no charge for this appointment. Yep. I don't charge you anything. I get paid from the insurance carriers. And whether you go with them or you go with me, you're still going to pay the same amount. It doesn't matter.
Yep.
So it's just that I'm there for you if you have any questions that I can handle. So you don't, because you're just a number at the insurance company.
Yep.
So, and you don't mean nothing to them. I mean, there's no fiduciary duty there, but as an agent, there is. I'm there for you. I'm going to be in your corner. What's the word I'm looking for? We answer to the insurance companies. That's the law. But you know what? I don't. I answer to my client.
Yep.
And it's just the way it is. I'm the one to help them. If I got to chew out my carrier, their carrier, because of some screw up or something that's not right, man, I'm going to raise holy heck.
Well, the thing is the insurance company's bound when things are done properly, right? And you and I can help a lot of heartburn. Meaning, I've had clients call me up and just ask me, am I responsible to pay this copay? And I'm like, yeah, it is. That's what we talked about. Okay, well, I'm going to go ahead and pay it. It doesn't mean that everything's covered, but they just want to know, is this right? Because there's so much wrong information out there. And
what they do, especially with Medicare, when I sit down with them and I give them a booklet, and even though I sign them up online through my laptop, I explain to them, I tell them, this is your Bible. You're going to keep this out on your coffee table. And if you get a bill that you don't recall that you should be paying, you look in the book under summary benefits. I earmarked it for you. Just go to that And if the price isn't right, you call me
Exactly.
and we'll handle it.
Yep.
So, and they love that they know they can call me. And I'm the type of guy that answers their calls. If I can't, I tell them it goes into voicemail. I'm going to call you within 24 hours max. And usually it's almost always the same day. During open enrollment, it might be 24 hours. But I explain to them that I'm there for you. I'm there in your corner to help you. You're not going to get that from a carrier. So
And you have a
don't have to pay me a dime for that. It's illegal anyway.
Well, that's the thing is you have a constant contact person that's going to help you understand. And that's what we're there for. John, we gotta wrap this up. As always, thank you for John for being on the show today. And
thank you.
Share, like, listen, and subscribe. Tell your friends, your family, and if you'd like to be on the show and tell your story, reach out to me directly.
Thank you for listening to another episode of the Ty Brady Way. As always, share, like, and subscribe. Go to Instagram at ty.r.brady. And as always, love hearing from you. And let me know what you want to learn on the show or what you'd like me to bring up on the show. Thanks.
You can find the Ty Brady Way on Instagram as well as Facebook. To stay connected with giveaways and Ty himself, go ahead and follow at ty.r.brady on Instagram as well as Facebook. This podcast was recorded, edited, and produced by Whitney Face Media Marketing. The theme music is an excerpt from Hot Chicken of the Woods by Isaac Joel.